I just can't reign subliminal without can't too far to turn back. The return of the lyricist. Get it together.
Yo, what's up? You listen to You Good with Mike Brown, a mental health podcast presented by myself and Loudspeakers Network. I got Chris T here on the boards. Today I have guest Mamoudou N'Diaye. He's a comedian from New York. So basically, this is how this episode went down. D.L. Hughley was tweeting at Terry Crews about how he should have hit the dude that touched his privates. And Mamoudou started writing this thread that went crazy viral. It got like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of retweets and likes and all these things. And he was just basically going in about what it is to be a black man in this business and trying to navigate those spaces, and how, you know, you just can't pop off all the time, and how it's kind of wrong for another black man in the business to just assume that. And, you know, it was just a good thread. And I was like, yo, pull up to the pod, man. Let's talk about this shit on air. And so we did. So I liked it. We also talked about, you know, his upbringing, being Muslim, being African, growing up in Ohio, moving around a lot, and what that does to identity. We talk about trying to put people in different spaces in a sense of trying to like bridge the gap, and also the intersectionality of feminism and masculinity. Like, it's a real dope conversation. I really liked it, and I think you guys will too. So if you do, let me know. Please rate, review, subscribe, all that stuff. You got any ideas or got any feel-good stories, let me know. You could hit me up at yomikebrown on all your social media platforms. Thanks for listening. Hashtag YouGoodPod, and check the episode out. All right, peace. D.L. Hughley, kind of like you break it down what happened, because you're better at this.
It was D.L. Hughley was tweeting about like, yo, like he should have just hit this dude Adam Bennett who touched Terry Crews inappropriately, and like the whole problem with this is not just that situation. It's also like the fact that mad other dudes have been coming after him for seemingly weeks at this point, and it's been happening since the story broke.
Terry Crews?
Yeah, Terry Crews, and there's like a Twitter dude, Tariq Nasheed.
Boy.
Yeah, exactly, he's like King Hotep. He definitely pulled up and had like a bunch of like Twitter goons going after him, because that's what happens when you have a platform. You say you don't like some shit, these people who work at Quiznos and don't give a fuck will pull up and say whatever they want to do to say on the internet. So D.L. Hughley's like a late stage version of that, because he's kind of been on the wrong side of things for a few months here, it seems like.
You know, it's interesting because like I watched the DL interview on Breakfast Club. Yeah. And I've always found him to be someone who, I think he does stand up for free speech. I think he does have some interesting ideas. Yeah. But that was like I totally agreed with everything you said. Yeah. Just in the sense of like, you can't just go around and just pop off on some dude at the industry party because he touched you.
Man, if I had a nickel for every time I want to roll up on some dude for like talking to me crazy, like if I do improv, so like someone labeled me as something a little bit racist in the scene, like I have so many stories of times I was like, yo, I really wanted to say some shit, but I had to find a way to do it, because like, unfortunately, as a black dude in the country, like, you don't have the luxury of just wilding out whenever you want. And I keep doing this joke about how like, there's like white boys who will run up on white girls on the street and be like, and do some scary shit, and then they'll be like, well, that's just my boyfriend. It's like, if I did that, like, it's over. That's like 6 bullets, good night. Like, it's like, there are these things that we are very aware of, these like things that black people can do and can't do. But like white people, and also people who, you know, are holding on really tightly to this idea of like, I gotta use my hands to deal with all my problems, really want to subscribe to that. So it put me in a weird place. It's like, yo, this dude did what we needed to do. He got a white dude in power out of the way because he's abusing his power. And he got his bag, and he's now like supported. Like, in that moment, it's like Doctor Strange, like, you know, in Infinity War, when he's looking at all the 14,000,001 possibilities, he found the one that works. It's not the one that like is traditionally masculine or toxically masculine, rather, but it was the one that worked.
Does that make him? It's such a weird thing, because it's like, I remember when I heard about it, and like I deal with this too, in a sense of like, I don't want to say trying to fight toxic, that idea of toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
I kind of look at it like just trying not to be a toxic person.
Yeah.
You know, but it's also a weird thing because like growing up, all those things like saying something like, bitch, get out of here. Like, it's not something where I'm saying it, like, degrading to her as a woman or whatever. The same way I'm like, man, come on, Nick, what are you doing? Like, it's that type of speech and comfort with your community. Yeah. And then now, because, you know, we're both in more of, like, a public eye now, it's like I'm so, like, anxious and uber aware of everything around me. Yeah.
I feel like I've always been that way, and I think it's more of being a black person and less of being a man for me. Yeah. I've always been just like very aware because I was just raised.
I mean, same way, but I'm saying, but also that layer of because you're a man too. But go ahead.
No, you're right. It's like I'm definitely mostly the black and the, you know, being African immigrant. And then, of course, post 9/11, hashtag fuck Muslims. Like that all happened and I'm Muslim. So wasn't really hot for my people at that time. But the masculine side of it is weird for me, mostly because like I didn't grow up with a lot of dudes around a lot. I was around my mom a lot. My dad was like in my life a lot, but he traveled for work. Okay. So he would be bouncing around a lot. I'd be around a lot of women, and a lot of my friends growing up have been women and stuff like that. But like with my black male friends, definitely, you know, it's that comfortability. It's like, yo, you get me. I don't have to give you the entry of like, yo, I'm tight because of the police. I'm tight because of what I read today. Yeah. We just start shooting the shit and that's it. But there's definitely things like I'm glad to be able to have those conversations with my dudes, being like, yo, why do we act this way? Like we don't got to do this. Like, because I think it's also like a conflation of like how people actually act and how they talk. Because some people, it's part of their dialect. Like, I know mad people who say bitch when they're talking. And I know they're not out here doing wild, crazy shit. But the thing is, like, it's those small things. And I think that social media is a hard thing because people have they hop on social media and everyone's coming in at a different sensitivity level. There's some people who are mad sensitive, and there's some people who will be like, yo, I know you're on the right track. And I have so many friends, I know you're on the right track, even though they're saying some wild shit. And I'll press them on some stuff because there's definitely a better way to say things. There's better ways. But you got to, like, think about it, because the optics on black men and black women are so much higher because they're looking at you through this white lens of like, you're already othered, and then once you finally make it into the room, you're like, oh, okay, I'm doing good. Then some shit happens. If Terry Crews swung on that dude in that room, I always say that like whiteness is one of the strongest fraternities in America. Like everybody in that room would have been like, wow, Terry Crews, he is big. I always was like, wow, he's like kind of too big. It's those small things that lead to like, I always saw this coming out of you, but it's all subconscious. So it's like, it's hard to have those discussions, not just with men, but with white people being like, you see us in this certain way. It's psychologically recorded that like you see black men and women as stronger and more aggressive and paint them as the villain. So
other.
I get it. Or just other.
Yeah. It's just that other mentality, because it's like, if it wasn't Terry Crews and let's say it was Chris Hemsworth. And he swung on the dude, it's just like Chris Hemsworth got in a fight with such and such, and it would be like on Extra maybe. But like, I feel if it's Terry Crews doing it, it becomes, it feels more violent. Exactly. It feels more of a, oh, well, we have to really talk about this Terry Crews guy. You know, he's a big guy. He's a man. Like, he had to basically, I feel from outside looking in, it's like, make his career off of being this kind of physically, potentially menacing person, but being lovable. You know what I mean? Exactly. And even that kind of changes the optics on things, because it's like, this Terry Crews actor, right? Though the person is a cool person, whatever. But in the world, he's like, all right, I gotta do acting and be happy and be smiling, be jovial, because I know that they're gonna look at me as this big dude and they might not fuck with me, and I gotta have my career. Also, I know that there are other black actors coming up to be in this industry behind me.
You know how many doors were closed if Terry Crews swung on that dude?
Oh, man.
Like, the thing is, like I said, 14 million and one things had to run through that man's head, and he decided to walk away. And the thing is, man, I guarantee you that I don't even know if I would make his decision in that place.
Yeah.
But I can't say that I don't understand it, because that is assault. But the thing is, I know plenty of, going through high school and college, dudes who like that sort of like homoerotic, I can do whatever.
Yeah.
That is their sense of humor. That this is fun. This is funny. And it's just not my thing. And I definitely know that I would have had been in the same place, but I've been walked all over before. And I definitely, even before this story, I'd be like, I was like, I can't be living this way. It's like, I'm not going to be swinging on people, but I also can't be out here just explaining to the whole world. Like, what he's doing is like laying on a grenade for a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
So
has there ever been like moments that you could remember specifically where you had to stop yourself from losing your shit?
Multiple times. There was one time where I just kept hearing white people say the N-word at a party.
And what was this comedy related?
Oh no, this was just a party.
Okay.
Yeah, just a party. I just kept hearing white people say the N-word.
Where was this? Was it college? Was it like I need color on this story?
This was New York City, Lower East Side, baby.
Okay,
hanging out LES at a bar, but just hanging out with my friends. And you know me, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything like that. But like I was just chilling, kicking it with my boys and having a wonderful time. And you know, songs come on, people start yelling the N-word, and like there's one super drunk dude yelling the N-word, and I was just like, yo, someone got to gather him. But like, he's surrounded with all these white shorties who are also co-signing his behavior. And
now question.
Yeah.
Was he saying it? How was he? Was he singing it with the song? Was he? Now, not that it matters, but I just want for context.
Yes.
Was he singing it with the song?
Yeah.
Was he just like, I'm surrounded by niggas? Like what kind of vibe?
He was singing it with the song.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to know the vibe.
But he was one of those people that would say that shit and then like try and dap up black people after that. And we're like, you can't touch us.
Got my niggas in Paris, and he comes around like, hey!
We in Paris, niggas? Nah, we ain't.
Okay.
Another party, this was actually later last year. I went with one of my friends, Julian. He said, yo, this girl's pulling up to this party. Yeah, we're going to kick it. It's going to be cool. We're at the party, and like there's one dude who says the N-word. Now, I look at him. He's like white. He got like the really, chin strap Kevin Federline joint going on in his face. So I was like, you know what? He might have like a little Puerto Rican in him. The rules in New York are a bit different. Maybe I need to check that out. But then my son came up to me, dapped up. He's like, yo, only 2 black people like really at this party, like, just that are chilling. Pulls up to us and just goes like, daps us up. He goes, yo, I'm just a white boy from Long Island, da-da-da. And I was like, yo, you just gave me your biography. We got to roll on this dude. And then again, this is a party. I don't know this dude, but he had the comfort to say the N-word. He's like, yo, this nigga be putting out fire music over on the side, coming up to us, dapping us up, and then talking to us, and then continuing to say the N-word around us. And I was just like in a position where it's like, I know I am even if he said the N-word, I will be the aggressor if I did something at this party where I don't know anyone.
Then what is the course of action? Because I'm sure, like, I think there's 2 sides of it. Even like with the Louis C.K. saying it in front of Chris Rock, and people are like, why didn't, like, Chris Rock should have checked him or whatever. Like, where do you like feel about that? Like,
in that specific situation?
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, you're Chris Rock. Don't be out here being like Louis C.K. is giving you all your power. Like, I know that he wrote Pootie Tang. I get that. But like, nigga, like, you got Chris Rock money too. Just tell him no. Be like, you can't be saying that now. Yeah. And there is a generation of stand-ups that are okay with that. There is a generation of stand-ups that are just like, that's par for the course.
It's crazy because like, I'm like, hey, if a white person says it, I'm like, you're not supposed to say, I'm not going to be the one to hit you.
Yeah.
But someone is going to be the one to hit you.
Exactly.
And when it happens, I'm not doing nothing.
Yeah.
You getting everything that's come. Like, I'm not going to be the one who is going to dole out that punishment.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be that one.
Yeah.
But it will come.
Yo, as you know.
And I agree.
As you know, I used to live in Ohio.
Yeah.
So I was around, I always say I was the only one of my kind in multiple different ways. Muslim, African, black. Yeah. But I went to a college, it's a PWI, College of Worcester. It's a great college, wonderful. But there are a lot of white people in there, and there's a lot of white people who are truly fucking wild.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to make this joke in my stand-up about how I was a first responder for white people. My black friends would hit me up and be like, yo, Tyler just said the N-word, get here before we fuck him up. So I gotta close my organic chemistry textbook, run down and be like, Tyler, we gotta go. You gotta get out of here. Sometimes they'd be gone before the situation happened. But there's definitely, I've been in that position where it's like, I need to be the one helping you. But I'm done now. Like, I feel like I did it for so long. I retired. I didn't get paid for that shit. So I'm done.
Was there like a specific instance where you're like, I'm done with it? Or or was it like just like a time thing? We're like, all right, I'm over this shit.
I feel like, and this is something I'm just going to be completely transparent and real about. It's just that like there was a time in my life where it's like I need to do this because I understand the other side. Having to grow up around a lot of white people, I understand why you are the way you are. And being a black person, I understand why they're mad about the way that you are. I am a bridge that can help that sort of divide. I always want. I'm never a person who wants to step outside of my bounds. I always want things to be chill and cool.
Yeah, you're a pacifist.
Exactly. I'm not going to pop off on people. But then over time, you start working in these places, in these spaces where it's a lot of white people who are going to abuse that sort of privilege of like calling you up, being like, am I a racist? And sometimes like, yeah, Janine. like, yeah, you're a racist. And sometimes you're like, yo, like you were kind of bugging out, but wasn't that serious. I feel, but just change the way that you act. But it came to a head when it's around the time Trump started like getting more momentum politically before 2016. And I was just like, yo, I'm telling these white people, you gotta like chill and check your family members and talk to them, da 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 da. And then he won. And then I saw a lot of people in tears. Like, this is like, because the idea of America is what they're in love with. They weren't in love with the reality of it. The reality that I've been telling them for so long, it's like, we all know that, like, you know, cliche definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Then I was like, nah, nigga, I'm off this. Like, I've been trying to help y'all for a long time. Shit's on the internet. Now, like, I'm not, like, anti-white. I feel like being pro-black doesn't mean you're anti-white. But I'm definitely anti on some fuck shit 24/7 and then being like, oh, why was that racist? Like, nigga, read a book. Like, that's where I am now. I'm like, there are avenues that don't involve someone teaching you. Because I used to be a teacher. I was a 7th grade science teacher. And that was all black boys. But being a teacher, I give a lot of people space to grow and change. But sometimes people are just out here, you know, manipulating things so they can continue being racist or saying shit so they can challenge and be edgy. I'm like, no, you don't be edgy, just be a good person.
Be a good fucking person. It's funny because it's like I feel like I've not recently, I think in the last like 2 years I kind of got on that kick too because like I grew up, you know, in Queens and Harlem. And Queens was more diverse, and then Harlem was more like, you know, black and Latino, right? And then when I go to college, it's like I'm with my EOP people and all that, and, you know, black frat, all that stuff. But there's still mostly white people around, you know, and then you're going through college and it's like, you know, your freshman year, you got all the homies, it's nice and mixed, right? But by the time you get to your senior year, you're like one of the only 2 black people in that class.
Man.
If you're not the only one, you're one of the only ones, and you start to realize like, holy shit, I'm out here being this other by myself. Like I stick out even though I don't want to stick out, you know, I just want to be. And because I've been around all these different, you know, like the same way you say, like, growing up, if you're in Ohio and you see, like, white people, and you're like, oh, I get where they're coming from. You know, and also you're like, but I'm black, so I also get where they're coming from. And you're trying to be like, hey, we can all just, we're not speaking the same language. We all want the same kind of things, but we're not talking in a way that gives way to some kind of peace. Now at this point, it's like, I think for me, Trump was the turning point. It was a feel like, I remember, I talked about this before, but like I used to go on a Anthony Cumia show as like as a guest or whatever, right? And Patrice O'Neal is like one of my favorite. I think he's the greatest, one of the greatest comedians of all time,
100%.
Right? And I was like, well, I know how Patrice is as a comedian, and I would see him hanging with him and whatever. I was like, oh, it's cool, whatever. It's all comedy, whatever. And I would do the show and it'd be great because it's like, Anthony would say crazy shit, I would say crazy shit, we would disagree all the time, but we would laugh about it because it's like we're constantly, you know, we're actually meeting in the middle and having that dialogue. But at the same time, all of his fans were people who I think were very like, maybe some MAGAs, not really sure, but possibly. And it was a time for me to be able to talk to them and just be like, nah, but black people ain't like that, what the fuck are you talking about? But also have that dialogue. But it came to a point where I realized I was doing that thinking that I was like teaching or bridging the gap. And then my people weren't even watching the Cumia show or anything, but they just saw that I was on it and they're like, yo, what you doing over there? And I'm like, man, ain't nobody over here, so there's no narrative to control or no counterpoint to give. So I'm there trying to give a counterpoint and being like, hey, you know, I'm black and I'm here to talk to you, and so you can see how I'm talking to you, and you can see a black person doing this, and you can look at me as like Mike, but it's like, yeah, and when you look at other black people, if you can listen to me talk, you can listen to them talk, and you can start to do that. But it became so much of a weight to try to bridge that gap. I was like, man, I can't be the only one doing this, and that's what I started realizing. I'm like, hey, I'm the only one here on this show, a person of color doing this ever, and it's like, it's cool, but I'm like, other than like if they had like strippers and shit come in, but it's just like, as a comedian, it was like, I'm the only one. I was like, man, I can't do it, because that's not my cross to bear.
Exactly. I think that like one thing that I've learned over the years of that sort of stuff is that like, yeah, you are trying your best to help people who don't truly want to be helped. And the thing is, the moment that you go a little, I've just noticed this is from also dating, this is from just like being out in the community and stand up. The moment you push a little bit, being like, yo, shit you saying is a little bit racist, defensiveness turns on. And now you're in a position where you have to like make them feel okay about their feelings, about your feelings, and that you're not allowing yourself to be part of anything anymore. And I say this a lot, that I think I was like a secondary character in my own growing up, where I always felt like I had to be representing, after 9/11, representing for Muslim people, because I was the only Muslim person that anybody knew in my town. For Africans, like, I'm the only Mamoudou in my town. Like, I do anything, I make any move, people are like, oh yeah, Mamoudou was there, and everyone knew who that person was. And being a black person is like, there were other black people there, but like being an African black person in a small town, dad being a professor versus being a black person in the town that's just living on like the south side of the town, were two different things. And we connected every once in a while, but it was just in like athletics, like track and soccer and stuff like that. So being the only one is like something that you're conditioning yourself to always be representative of like your race, and it sucks. You don't have to do that, because there are some people who, unfortunately, like, they come to schools like Worcester, which was pretty diverse to them, because they saw some international students, a few black people, and there's black people coming to these schools being like, there are no niggas here. And I get that. I get that. Like, do I regret going to that college? Nah, because my dad taught there, student loan forgiveness.
You're good. Yeah, you're good.
But on the other side, like, it's like, if I went to an HBCU, I feel like I would have not had to feel like a secondary character for most of my life. And I feel like even in like UCB spaces and stuff like that, I would do stand-up shows talking about Trump and racism. People are like, oh, good job. They're hearing me, but they're not listening. They're not listening at all.
Listening to what you're
saying. And that takes a toll on you. And then especially when you're like talking about your experience, and you can speak to this too, with like pitching to like comedy networks and stuff like that. I'm about to put y'all niggas on blast. Hire me.
I was telling Ariel on another episode. I was like, "Oh yeah, Mamoudou's coming." I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, such a great writer, and I was talking about the Broad City Spec. And I was like, it pops goes all viral, and it changes, it shifts the whole culture of of your career just from that.
Exactly.
But continue.
But nah, it's that like, it feels fucked up to walk into a room full of white people, explain this is what happened. They're like, we don't get it. You don't get it because you weren't there, and you also don't understand being a black person or being a Muslim or an African person. So there's still all of these barriers to being able to be yourself as a black person in this country.
Do you feel? I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase this question, because it's like, I always talk about how there isn't shared black identity
between Africans and black people. Is that what
but between just in general, just like, it's like my father's Jamaican. And my mom, is black and grew up in the projects, right? And my upbringing, because they were in different houses, and I lived with my mom, and I lived with my dad. My upbringing is like so different that when like I talk to other black, like, we have that camaraderie. Is like, oh, we're in this America, so they're looking at us all the same way. However, when we get down to cultural specifics, like, like a Haiti versus Jamaica versus Africa, all these things, and then when you want to pile in, okay, there's some like black Jewish people, Muslim, Christian, atheist, and all these other things, it's like, is there a time when you ever feel like, I'm totally around my people who totally get me? Do you ever feel that?
Nah, I bounce around all the time. I hang out with my Muslim gang, hang out with my African gang, hang out with my black gang. I have to hang out with like a few white people. Not have to. I have a few friends that like they made the cut. Like they coming back for the next season of American Idol. They coming back. I find myself bouncing a lot, and like I always try and explain it this way. I'm about to get like super. My dad's African studies professor. I'm about to get into it. Throw the fight the power beat behind this. But like the way that a lot of blackness in America looks like to me is that white supremacy has showed Africans and black people images of each other that are incorrect. They showed Africans images of black people that are just like shaking the ass in the club, 50 Cent music video, shit like that. And even though Africa's like pretty liberal, it is still religiously conservative, and like, you know, having your ass out and shit like that is not cool. But that's not blackness in America. Yeah. But for the same token, you have African Americans in America who see things like the poverty and the being hungry and the war and stuff in Africa. They never see the positive aspects of it. So when you both have the different images of each other, you pull up to each other, you're like, nah, I can't bang with you. That's not the way it is. It's literally the people who had the lens and the camera pointing at different people, showing only the negative parts or the exaggerated parts of different cultures and having them come together. And that's hard because, like, I talk about Mamoudou N'Diaye, who got shot up in the Bronx. That's like one of my first memories. Like, one of my first memories is reading about Mamoudou N'Diaye and talking to my parents about it. Him being shot up for having his wallet out.
Were you in Ohio at this time? Or?
I was, I think I was in Illinois at this time. I can't really remember. Because when I was young, I moved around a lot. I went back to West Africa. But
and you're the first. Are you first generation American?
I was born here. Yes, first generation American.
And also real quick, that's another thing. That's another different thing when it's like when your parents are immigrants, or you have an immigrant parent who is trying to understand America and then has a kid here and is trying to raise you under the ethics of what they came from in a country that they don't even know all of the rules to yet.
Exactly. Yeah,
There's
dude.
all these fucking layers.
It's like playing Uno, but nobody knows how to play the game yet. You just gotta listen to these people, and you're like, "Well, you can't just throw a draw 4 down. What are you talking about?" Like, it is like that. And I think that Mamoudou N'Diaye is like, yo, that's an African dude who's a black dude. He got shot up by the police. And that's part of a lot of my activism's about, like, you know, the police. But when it came to things like that, it's just like it is still nigga in the United States. It is still a black dude. Like, no matter how much, that's why, like, we don't bang on Kanye right now. Because, like, he is still a black dude in this country who has a lot of influence and power, but he's not using it correctly. But at the end of the day, he's still going to be a black dude. The moment that Kanye does some wild shit, says some wild shit about white people or something, some people might turn away from him. Some people might turn towards him. But the whole thing is that, like, you can have all the power in the world, but you're still going to be a black dude. That's why my son Barack Obama was spot clean for 8 years. And they were like, look at that tan suit. And that was it. That's all they could actually grab onto. Yeah, he did bomb a lot of brown people in the Middle East. But there's, like, little things that they can grab onto. But, like, this dude Trump can literally murder all the kids in the hospital, and people don't care.
The government for a month. He said he was bringing back jobs and said, no, let's put the government on pause.
Insane. He dead ass. He dead ass put the Netflix. Are you still watching shit?
Yeah,
like,
are you still watching?
I still watch. I fell asleep.
I'm not watching this.
I passed out.
Add this to the queue. I'll get to it later.
Exactly. I'll get to it later. Yo.
It is nuts because it's like, I mean, and we all know, it's a weird thing because we all know that there is a double standard, and I'm also like being more aware of. It's like, of course, I'm more tied to like the black double standard, but when the double standard of like women getting paid different wages than men for doing the same thing, you know what I mean? Like those type of things, or even like I don't know if there's like the sexuality double standard. Like, I'm not sure what that.
Mean?
Like if like
LGBTQIA people navigating straight spaces.
Yeah,
there is.
I mean, that's a great way of putting it. But I mean, like, if that is a thing too, because is it?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Like, as somebody who, like, my sister's bisexual. And like, for me, I'm on the asexual spectrum, so I'm like not really like out here banging with people like that. I'm chilling. I'm like, that's why I never really talk about that a lot, because I'm like, I feel like with LGBTQ people, they're out here fighting for the right to express themselves and have sex with who they want to. And for me, it's like, I'm not really interested in sex, so like I'm not gonna bang for it. But I understand other asexual people doing
isn't non-sexual expression also expression.
It's also expression. It's one of those things that's like intracommunal for LGBTQ people, and I'm like, I already got a lot of shit going on right now. This is not really important to me right now. Like I can't be out here and be like, we should all have the right to not have sex. I'm not gonna be out in the streets doing that.
Yeah, don't ruin it for anybody.
Oh yeah, exactly. You put that on Twitter, people are like, all right, we closing this laptop. This nigga lost it. But there is. It's like when I have the privilege and opportunity to be in a lot of LGBTQ spaces just from like DJing and comedy and having friends in those spaces, and like it's different. Like they can't express themselves the same way. Like just today we're recording this. I don't know when it's coming out, but Jussie Smollett from Empire.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that. Let's talk about that too, yeah.
But like they have to navigate this world in a different way too. They have to move differently, and that is terrifying. And I think that like one thing that that always makes me upset. We're talking about social media is that there's so many people who like to like talk about one part of the story. I get it. We need to relate to things in order to like feel things to do it, but we omit other parts. So like for me, it's like I always am reading. That's part of my like self-care. Like I'm reading, I'm learning. If I don't understand something and I don't want to immerse myself in that culture because I don't want to take up space there, I will read about it. I'll hang out with people individually, pick their brain about sort of stuff, and they can pick my brain. That way we have like a cultural exchange. But like there is so much going on that they have to deal with, and that other people have to deal with, the black women having to deal with, LGBTQ black women, trans black women have to deal with, that I'm just like, yo dog, you are playing life on super extra, super duper hard. And this is, and sometimes I'm like, yo, being a straight black man, we got a lot of shit going on, but being a straight black man, or being a gay black man who's out here trying to like have sex with other men is different. And the barbershop's the great example of that, where like gay black dudes have their barbershop story. Some dude, they go in, they're getting their hair cut, and then they're like, oh, well, I saw this faggot today. And you're like, oh, come on, dog. And I've been in those barbershops before, and I was like, what do you say? Because being a black dude, I'm gonna ask you, when you're in that situation, how do you challenge that? Because my thing is, I love challenging my black male friends by asking them questions that are intentionally seeing where they stand on LGBTQ issues. I have a few friends like, whatever, you live your life. You fuck who you want to fuck. And there's some people who they do struggle with it, but I do see them trying to grow and change. So how do you challenge that?
I mean, I don't know. It's like it's something that like I kind of focus on my kind of like immediate circle, but it's also, I think, one of the things that like I guess is like a form of outreach for me is like even doing like this podcast, because it's like I know I can't reach everybody, but as long as I can start having these conversations with diverse people to kind of show, okay, this is what blackness is, and even like looking at masculinity, you know what I mean, and what that means and what that is, and breaking down beyond that, just being like, well, what about just being a good person, and what's that mean, you know? But it's a weird thing. Like I remember one of my roommates is gay, right? And he's cool as shit, and he's like a friend of mine now. He's like legit a friend of mine, and it's so crazy because like I've never felt like I was homophobic ever, right? I think growing up, it was a thing like, like, oh, that's gay, oh, that's gay, whatever, things like that, but not thinking of like I hate gay people, but you would say it like as an adjective for something that you didn't want to do, right? And so getting older and just being like, oh, it's just whatever, people gonna fuck who they want to fuck, it doesn't really bother, whatever. And thinking that like I quote unquote did have gay friends when I was doing stand up, because it's like, oh yeah, this comic is gay and he's my friend, but they're not really like my friends. They're people, they're like coworkers.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like they're cool, but like I'm not, they going through something, they're not calling me, I'm not calling them, giving them relationship advice. Whereas my roommate, who's now my friend, like we have like real talks about like life, family, and all these things. I'm like, oh, this is a friend of mine, and I never understood, I guess, sexuality, if that makes sense. Where it's like, yeah, he likes, it's like being straight, right? It's like all my boys, most of them, all of them love women, right? Yeah. But we don't all love the same type of woman. Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah. And sometimes it took me like a while to realize like, oh, if you're gay, it doesn't mean like you like this type of dude or that type of, just like, no, everybody has their own type and all these old things. And it's like, I was so ignorant to it because it wasn't in my life. But now that like that person's in my life, I'm able to realize, I'm like, okay, now I'm aware. And it's even a thing of what I try to do is because like I was asking you about the different spaces, like the Muslim space, the black space, the comedy space, all these things. I try to always merge those spaces where like people are there's gonna be times when all those people are gonna be together, and it's like I have to, and it's a fucking mind fuck because it's like I have to be the same person now with all these spaces, because sometimes when I'm with the black friends I feel a little different because I feel like we all have the same kind of struggle, or when I'm with my comedy friends I feel like I feel different, and bringing them all together. Like the other day I had my boy, one of my best friends in the world, Omar. I've known him since I was 6, right? Yeah. Best friend, right? One of the day ones. And he's chilling at the crib and a roommate comes in, right? And I'm like, oh, that's Jamie, oh, whatever. And we just like talking, and it was just like, he was cool, but I never was like, oh, I've never seen my best friend around somebody who was gay. You know what I mean? It's a mind fuck. Cause it's like, oh, I never would think that he's homophobic, and he's not. Yeah. But I never put 2 and 2 together because it's like, oh, when I'm talking to Jamie, like it's just like it's whatever, like maybe us, so like me, him, my girl might go get some brunch or something, like, whatever. But it's like when I introduce him to my best friend. It's like, oh shit, okay, oh, I'm the same person the whole time, and he's still being him, and it's like, oh, people can just coexist, but it does take that kind of introduction of like, hey, you as a person who loves me as a roommate and a friend, meet someone who I grew up with, who I love to the death as a best friend, and now here we are existing in this space. It's a fucking wild thing. It's so fucking beautiful and scary because in the same way we're talking about like the Jussie Smollett. It's like you see that these MAGA dudes can roll up on them, put hands on them and all that, and it's like, no, we're all existing in the same space. You cannot like the dude. I don't think his sexuality is a reason not to like him, but that doesn't mean to put hands on the dude. You know what I mean? Like you can, like it's scary.
Yeah, these beats are scary. And the thing is, like, somebody tweeted earlier that hate is intersectional. It's like, you can hate people for multiple things. Like, you can't be out here like, I'm going to hate you for this on Tuesday. You have to wait till Friday for me to hate you for this. No, it can all be at the same time. And I've had a similar situation where, like, I brought one of my friends, it's like a hood friend that I have, to a party, and it's like, oh, there's going to be a lot of, like, queer people here that and I've never seen them around these people. Living it up. But like, you don't think about it until you get that catch in your chest, like, oh wait, they've never been around that sort of,
or you've never seen it. They might have been around it and they never seen it, and you're like, and it's weird because it's like you want to be like, all right, bruh, I'm gonna just let you know before we go in here. It's a little different. You know what I mean? I don't want you to get weird about it.
It's like those meetings with your manager. There's like, we're gonna go in there. I've already buttered them up a little bit, and don't worry. Like, you might see some gay stuff in there.
You're gonna say it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Don't worry.
It's fine. It'll stay on the other side. It's cool.
Exactly. Chill. Relax.
And it's just like this weird thing because it's like it's not that. I guess it might be the anxiety that I'll have because it's like I don't know what that's going to do to the person I'm bringing into this new environment. It's the same way when like early on with doing comedy, where I had a shout out to Omar Thompson, is a comedian. Early on, he would always do like a lot like the urban rooms, we'll say, right? And I would do some urban rooms, and I also do the alt rooms and the mainstreams, right? So we would bounce around every so often and bump into each other. But like we both thought we were funny. We're like, oh man, like let's always like let's kick it or like hit each other up. And I was like, yo, I'm doing this alt room thing. And he was like, yo, I'm trying to get in there. I'm like, yo, come with me, right? So I bring him in, and he's doing the show, and he's like, oh my god, there's just like nothing but white people in the audience. And I had to give the thing like, all right, it's okay.
You had to walk him through it.
Okay, so this is UCB. All right. Now there are a lot of NYU students. They get it, but sometimes they need to hear it a little slow. You know, whatever. Just so you know, but it's cool. You know what I mean? And it's like such a weird thing, and to see him do it and have fun, and it's great. But it's always a thing of like, hey, you have to introduce people to different spaces just so they can be aware
of what's going on.
Yeah,
in those
just
spaces.
be aware of the space.
There are niggas in East New York who never been to the city.
Like, they don't need to.
They don't got to. Exactly. So it's like, and it's weird because like over time you start to realize like what people needed that sort of like thing to like break them into it, and it is. that's, I think, the repurposing of my sort of like wanting to bridge people together. I'm like, nah, I will bring y'all together. Y'all figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, especially for like being gay. I feel like we're talking about black masculinity in general. Yeah. Like so much of like the ideas of black masculinity seem to be tied to like Christianity and colonialism, which was introduced to us by white people for the most part. But like all these, my friend Keisha said this the other day, and I've never heard it said this way, that like the only thing older than racism is sexism. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But on top of that, it's like the homophobia that I see for a lot of like straight people, it's not really founded in anything besides what they've already been told. So I feel like introducing them to them like and not really like talking about it is hard. You gotta like find a way to have that conversation with them, and that's, I feel like, where people like us come in, where you've had to navigate those spaces, you know how to talk in those spaces. And like the other day I was on an Uptown 2 train, and this dude saw me with an umbrella. He goes like, "Hey man, you got an umbrella? That's pretty gay, bruh." And I was like, I don't even know what that means. Like, nigga, what are you talking about? Like, like it didn't make any sense.
Not an umbrella, that's an accessory, bitch. You know what I mean? You out here. What, you don't want to get wet, nigga?
It's like, bro, I wasn't sucking this umbrella's dick or nothing. It was just an umbrella.
Drip, nigga?
Shit was so weird.
Hey, man.
I thought about that shit the rest of the day. I was like, wait, what world where you're like, you see an umbrella, you're like, yo, that man fucks men. Like, that shit don't make sense. It's like, it's not founded in a lot. Like, I feel like and the thing is, we have these conversations on the internet. You know, those people put those tweets out like, yo, you walk into your son's room, you doing this, what you gonna do? Like, that's wild homophobic. Yeah. But like, it's because they already know what the response they're looking for. It's one of those, you flip a coin, you know what you're waiting for. Yeah. But like, I was just like, now I'm just like trying to like find ways to have those conversations with my friends. Who are straight, because they, like, for the most part, I know they're good people. I know they don't really care, but you know, and especially in like Caribbean and like African cultures, there's a lot of homophobia and a lot of it. For me, like, my family's been chill with everything, so later they don't really care about that sort of stuff. But like, I know a lot of people who are very uncomfortable with that sort of shit, and it isn't until you put them in the thick of it that they start to like realize, oh, maybe I'm not really cool with this. I'm cool with this in theory. And like, part of my activism journey, as I say, is like, I feel like when I started getting into feminism and stuff like that, I was definitely into white feminism, because there's a lot of like white people. I was like definitely for black women, but I was just doing like wild white feminist shit, like got the t-shirts and like going out to the women's march, shit like that. And then one day I was like, nah, I'm gonna turn left here. I'll see y'all when I see you. I'm gonna hang out with these black women. Now that's basically my entire thing. And being a person who's like a third culture kid and African, and like growing up in a black culture but mostly African culture, the R. Kelly shit really fucked me up, because I know R. Kelly
trying to talk about goddamn R. Kelly. Everybody bring it, but go ahead.
Nah, but like I'll give you
I'm gonna give you 2 minutes.
Oh, you got 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes. All right.
Go, clock is on. Go.
I did not grow up on R. Kelly. I didn't grow up with him at barbecues. I didn't grow up with him like in like rotation of my dad's records or anything like that. I grew up on African music. So I heard "I Believe I Can Fly" first time in Space Jam. Second time I heard R. Kelly was the Chappelle sketch that I just happened to see. Like, this is funny. Was this based on anything? My parents weren't really telling me about the stuff that was going on. I didn't see the tape, didn't know no shit about R. Kelly. But when I watched that documentary, and I, over the last 2 years, heard more stories, I was like, oh, I can't be like listening to this sort of, I need to be more attentive to like protecting like black women, because as black men, I feel like a lot of our anger and frustration is to support other black men. I get that, and sometimes, you know, protecting black women. But I feel like after watching that documentary, I was like, oh, my activism been all fucked up, because I think I'm always like, I'm for black people, but it's mostly been black men. I need to definitely lean more towards helping black women. Yeah, I'm trying to donate. I'm definitely trying to support other people, but there's other ways that I need to be able to do it. I think the R. Kelly documentary really put it in my head how this dude could just skate by a McDonald's and be like, oh, these girls are cute, they're 14, and bring them to the studio. So that's where I'm basically coming from with that. I feel like it just it wasn't that recent. It's been like something that's been growing on me for a while, but that really like was the turning point. I was like, nah, fuck this, because unfortunately, whiteness will help whiteness. They will figure out a way to do that. But
whiteness will help whiteness.
Yo, dude, again, throw that fight the power beat behind whatever I'm saying, dog. Throw it behind me, boy.
Made me lose my whole career with this shit. God damn.
Nah.
I just want to shout out to the white people who sent the money to me. Whiteness.
White people, listen. Some of my best friends watch Friends. Okay, so
my best friends watch Friends.
So believe me, I'm with it. I get where you're coming from. I get it.
It's such a fucking. Have you watched Killer Mike's show yet?
I watched the first episode. I wasn't really crazy about it, but I've been told to get into it.
I think everyone should definitely check out what is it? Trigger Warning with Killer Mike. It's very subversive and interesting. And my thing is like watching that and the R. Kelly special kind of got me into this like, I don't want to say super pro-black wave, but being more aware of black.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I've always felt aware, and growing up in Harlem and having nothing but like black friends and like always fucking with my people. It's like I've never had to question that for myself.
Yeah.
If anything, I'd always have this fear of like, not the fear, but like you grow up knowing never forget where you came from.
Yeah.
You know, never forget where you came from. Never forget where you came from. And through all the places that I've been, I think about, man, could I bring some of these people with me? And that's what I always try to do. Like anytime I do something, I'm like, how can I involve other people in this that I love and that I fuck with, and how can they then make something that they can bring other people in, and that's how you kind of like foster that community. And I've been very, I've been trying to do a very colorblind approach to these things, but in the same way with college, the farther you go, the less of us, I see. Even in my comedy career now, it's like I'm making moves and I'm looking around. I'm like, man, okay, we all making moves, but we in different areas. Like we all, it feels like very. So I just finished the UCB. Well, not just finished, but UCB sketch writing classes, right? Yeah. 101. We diverse as a motherfucker.
Yeah, we're looking good.
201. Oh, a little bit. 301. Me and another guy.
Yeah.
I will say my 401 did have, but it was funny because like my 401 had two other people of color, both black men. One of them was AJ Dunk. Yeah. But it's different. He's a dope dude, but it's also different because I'm like, I know AJ is grinding on this for real, and he didn't think he was going to see anybody. Yeah. I didn't think I was going to see anybody. Yeah. And it was like we both already know each other. It's like that's how small this thing is. It's not like I'm going to see someone new who I've never met who's like grinding it out. Like we all know each other because it's such a small fucking environment and industry in New York. Yeah,
and especially in New York, and you're so inundated with all these other white people. I think that like I used to be great at telling white people apart. I'd be like, yo, that's Cara Delevingne, and that's not good. But now I don't know who any people are. People will reintroduce themselves to me, and I genuinely am like, if they say their name, everything comes back. Yeah. But it's just, Same way. It is, you become face blind because you don't see a lot of your own. And like we always have that joke about like when you see that one black person in the party, you pull up to them, you're like, yo, this shit crazy, right? Nuts. Yeah. Like it's because like we are these drops in this pool, and you see less and less as you go up, and whenever you can pull people into it, that's great. But like I said from before, it's hard. It feels kind of gaslighty to pull up into a room to be like, oh, we don't understand your jokes, because you're talking to people in these white spaces that don't have the same base reality as you. To use UCB terminology, base reality is that reality that you're like, this is what we both agree on is the reality. We already as a people, and if politically or giant social movements haven't shown that, like we don't see the world the same way. Yeah. And that's why making black spaces, not only just to do comedy and make your art and, support each other, but spaces to talk about things like black masculinity and mental health and stuff like that are important, because all of the other places, it seems that like some other group has the mic and they can cut it whenever they want. Yeah. But making that space where you guys can deal with it and talk about it, whether it be your own community or actual public spaces built for that, are so important. And I think that I've met so many people that are like really good friends of mine just because I was out and I saw a lot of black people together, hung out with them, and then
became friends. Yeah.
And it's easy because I feel like it feels like, when you're watching TV shows, like feeling like you're starting at the beginning every time you meet white people. You got to find out, where do you stand? Who do you believe? What do you believe in? Where did you go to school? Okay, you're from Ohio. Okay, what?
Let's see what else is
going on. But with black people, we're like, all right, off the jump, you dap each other. You know where it is. Yeah. And then you just go on from there.
How do you feel about, I think it's like, it's an interesting thing because like, the Tariq Nasheed thing, right?
Yeah. About, hey, the trolls can come after me.
I'm just saying, like, ready. In a sense of like, if like we did know who he was from Twitter or whatever, and you just saw him on the street, if that was like your man's friend or whatever, like, oh, it's my man Tariq. Hey, what's up, man? It would have been all love. And then you would hear some of the stuff that he seemed like, whoa, come on, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, come on, buddy. But it's just funny because in the same way, we start out on that 100%. Oh, okay, cool, boom, G code. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas if it's, I guess, not one of us, quote unquote, it feels like, okay, hey, nice to meet you. You know, let me step back a little bit. Let me see what's going on. Let me see where you stand on some things. Okay, now I can rock with you.
Oh, 100%. You got the AOL free trial period before you get that. Before you actually get to have my friendship. You know. Yep. No, I feel that. Like if I saw Tariq and I didn't know this dude, if just as Tariq, I'd probably dap him up because I'm always just like, yo, I'm always happy to see another black person either successful, thriving, just living. I'm always happy to see that because unfortunately, that's society's not with that program right now. But like again, I think I've definitely become a hold up now type nigga now. Yeah. Because sometimes like you'll get to a point and then you're like, yo, I this is a weird story, but I had a Domino's delivery pizza. Listen, I'm washed. I had Domino's. I admitted that in the podcast. Drag me. But that shit was rocking at the time. Fuck y'all.
Getting Domino's pizza.
My nigga, I was depressed at my house and I was like, I'm not leaving this bed. The Domino's app is like, hey, you look hungry, nigga. I was like, yeah, dog. Order
you
Domino's.
Looking at the tracker, they on their way.
Oh, yeah, dude. Rashad got me my pizza at 10:37 a.m. Another sad thing, it was 10:37 a.m. But my dude delivered it, and it's just a black dude, and I only had $10. I didn't have any breaks, so I just gave him $10 as a tip. And he goes, oh, thanks, man. And then he comes back, and he goes like, hey, can I talk to you for a second, brother? You know, part of me is like the community and the comic in my head's like, he's probably gonna say some funny shit or he just wants to talk. And he's just like, what if I told you I was a millionaire? And I was like, I'd be like, why you work at Domino's, nigga? Like, like, what are you doing? And then he started talking all this stuff. And it's one of those things where like he kept saying things that were like progressively crazier and crazier. And then he said something about white people. He's like, you know, white people got like, you know, you gotta watch yourself around them. I'm like, yeah, okay, I know what you mean. I guess it's a black sort of like protection sort of thing. Then he goes, like,
colonizers.
He's like, I'm with you. He's like, Wakanda forever. Yeah, okay. And then my son goes, he goes, yeah, it's like, because they got demons following them around. And I was like, all right, let's get into like some Harry Potter shit. I know we're gonna turn this way. It's like, it's because they don't wipe their ass. You knew that? I'm like, I don't know how you knew that, dog.
What?
I definitely was like, hold up, dog. Because I was definitely on that stoop for a cold 26 minutes to be like, what's going on with this dude right now? Then he started like, they don't wipe their ass. It's like, and they use their right hand. You're supposed to use your left. I'm like, all right, you just wanted to talk to someone about some crazy shit. And that's why we need spaces for black people to do, because you just let that shit go in your head for a while. Nah, you talk to people, we all need friends to be like, nah, nigga, this ain't it. You've had enough.
All right, Mamoudou, let them know where they can find you and all that stuff.
You can find me on Twitter at Mamoudou N'Diaye, MAMOUDOU NDIAYE. And you can find me on Instagram at Mamoudou About Nothing, MAMOUDOU About Nothing.
Yeah. Thanks for doing the podcast. As always, you can find me at yomikebrown on all your socials. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends about the pod if you fucking with it. And yeah, man, thanks for coming. This was great. I know it was like a last minute thing, and we made it happen. So thank you. Dude, I really appreciate that shit, man.
This is a wonderful show.
Thanks, man. Peace.
Thanks, man. Bye.